Hello, guys, and welcome back to Provoke, the show where we don't shy away from controversy, we actually embrace it. Today, we're going to be talking about the LA fires, the fires happening in California. I live about 45 minutes away from, where everything's going on with no traffic. I live in Orange County. And so, we're going to be talking about everything related to that. I'm going to give you guys a timeline. But before we start talking about the timeline, I do want to mention something. I've seen people, on Twitter and social media talk about whether this is God's judgment on California or whether, or it's just what they say is just a result of bad leadership, right? Gavin Newsom, the mayor, etc. They're like, because of their bad leadership, we are in this problem. But I want to say that the bad leadership is God's judgment. John Calvin, the reformer of the Protestant Reformation, he wrote, when God wants to judge a nation, he gives them wicked rulers. He gives them wicked rulers. And that's what we have in California because of our own doing. And yes, I know that a lot of people will say, well, I didn't vote for Gavin Newsom, and I didn't vote for Mayor Bass, and I didn't vote for these wicked politicians. But groups of people, nations, tribes, sometimes do get punished as a collective. We see that in the Bible. We see that, even though there are faithful people among Israel, God still judges the nation of Israel for the wickedness. And in California, we love child sacrifice so much. We love child mutilation so much. And so I think it's fair to say that this is God's judgment. And the judgment is not in the fires happening, but in giving us bad leadership. And that bad leadership is what caused a lot of the unpreparedness for these fires. He gave us bad leaders, and these bad leaders did not prepare for these fires. And I think it's also, as we're going to look at the timeline, I think we're also going to notice that this is what happens when we worship the creation instead of the creator. Romans talks about this, the book of Romans. And that is what we're doing. We're worshiping Mother Nature. And, a lot of people are going to say, no, environmentalism or caring about the environment, that's not worshiping it. It is when you are putting animals and creation, like climate change, or like above human beings that are made in the image of God. And that's what we're going to see here. We're going to see that Gavin Newsom, maybe he doesn't believe it. Maybe he's just doing it because he wants to look good. It doesn't matter. But he's putting fishes or climate change, saying, oh, this is so important and this is more important, above his responsibility, which his first responsibility is with the people. The people who are made in the image of God. And that is a problem. That is a big problem. So, do I think it's judgment from God's part? Yeah, I think it's judgment. But not necessarily in the, he got the fires and everything, because the fires were man-made. But in the fact that he gave us wicked leaders like Gavin Newsom and Mayor Bass. So, with that being said, let's get into the timeline so you guys could see why I think that's the case. So what happened? In 2019, environmental regulations were imposed to protect the Delta smelt. The Delta smelt is a tiny fish, very tiny fish, leading to the unnecessary restrictions of vital waterways. This is what President Donald Trump said. He said that Newsom refused to sign the water restoration declaration put before him that would have allowed millions of gallons of water from excess rain and snowmelt from the north to flow daily into many parts of California, including the areas that are currently burning in a virtually apocalyptic way. He wanted to protect an essentially worthless fish called a smelt by giving it less water. It didn't work, but didn't care about the people in California. That happened in 2019. Okay. In 2021, 300 Los Angeles fire department firefighters were laid off. 300 firefighters were laid off. And what was going on during that time? Anybody want to take a guess? Well, the pandemic was going on. And so these firefighters were laid off because they didn't want to get the jab. They're like, we're not doing this. We're not going to put our health at risk. Our health is more important than our job. And so they got fired. In 2022, the LA Fire Chief, Kristen Crowley, who, by the way, was a DEI hire, announced a new program to allocate resources to a DEI program that focuses on meeting sexual orientation, gender, and racial quotas. Look, this is insane. There was apparently too many white, straight males in the LAFD. That was the problem. We have too many men that are white and straight. So how do we get black lesbian women? You see, this is what happens when, and this is actually what's racist and sexist and all of the above. Because first of all, I don't believe, and now this is a personal opinion, and I understand people in good faith, Christians in good faith, could have a differing opinion, but I don't believe that women should be fighting these fires. And the women who are risking their lives as firefighters, I appreciate them. I really am very appreciative of them and what they're doing in trying to make sure that we are all safe. However, I don't think that's the role a woman should take. Same with police officers, same with being a part of the military. These are roles that men should fulfill. Because these are men roles. Right? There's roles for women, there's roles for men. Men are supposed to protect. Men are supposed to provide. Men are supposed to be the ones to lay down their lives for the weak. It's not to say a woman can't do that, but the responsibility should fall on men. And I think that's also shows how our society is decaying. And also, it's just look at it from a pragmatic level, right? I would be fine with them hiring women, I guess. I would be like, you know what? I don't like it, but it is what it is. If the women could pass the same exact test as the men have to pass. So if they're saying men have to do 30 push-ups, women have to do 30 push-ups. Men have to do 60 this, women have to do 60 this. Men have to run the mile in this much, women, like if it was all the same. And now a lot of people are going to say, well, that's going to eliminate a lot of women. Well, yeah. Like, who do you want carrying you over your shoulder? Like, especially, like, if I have my husband who's like, what, 170, 180? You think someone who's 5'2" and weighs 130 pounds can carry him out of a burning building? No way. No way. So I think I would be better off if there was like, okay, everyone has to take the exact same physical tests. But we're not doing that. We're lowering the requirements so we could have women in, so we could have the other ones are not so much important, but I would think that, you know, like why do you want to hire more? Like, just let people in by their merit. I'm not gonna I shouldn't be like, oh, this person should be let in because they're black. It's like, no, are you good at your job? Forget about whether they're black. Forget about whether they're gay. Are they good at their job? Can they meet the physical requirements? Can they meet the psychological requirements? Can they, uh, pass the background check? That's it. That's all that should be necessary to get hired. It shouldn't be based on your sexual orientation, gender, or racial identity. It should be based on whether you're qualified. Okay, so that happened in 2022, where the LA Fire Chief, Kristen Crowley, decided to allocate resources to hire more gay people, more women, more Black and Latinos, and other racial minorities. Okay, in 2023, Gavin Newsom emptied the reservoirs to appease the demands of native tribes who wanted to save fish. Like I said, this is what happens when we want to worship the creation instead of the creator. Oh no, the fish are going to die. What about the people? Huh? Are they not more important than fish? And by the way, I'm actually kind of a hippie when it comes to the environment, because I think that God gave us dominion over the world, and therefore we should steward the world correctly. And I think we should care about the environment, but not at the expense of human beings made in the image of God. And we should have reasonable laws and regulations that are not putting human beings in danger. In 2024, this one's insane. LA Mayor Karen Bass cut $17 million from the LAFD budget to prioritize the homeless. $17 million. And we know, by the way, I've been living in California my whole life, basically, since I've been like 2 years old. And we know these fires happen. So why in the world would she decide that that's a good thing to cut from the Los Angeles fire department? Why would she think it would be good to cut $17 million? And she did this to prioritize resources or programs for the homeless. Look, LA has spent like hundreds of millions of dollars, if not like $1 billion already, in helping the homeless. They really have. They really, really have. And yet the problem is not solved. In fact, we have more homeless. And it keeps getting worse and worse and worse and worse. So it's not helping. We need to do something else. We need something else. These programs are not helping. In fact, these programs are just funneling money and paying the CEOs $400,000 a year, $500,000 a year. Like if you look at the salaries of some of these people who are working for nonprofits, it should be criminal. It really should be. And Anna Kasparian from the Young Turks, she pointed that out on her Instagram the other day. I don't know if she still has it up, but yeah, that's one of the things that she pointed out. And she, along with other people, are just completely tired of what's going on. Oh, I can't find it. But yeah, she pointed this out. She's like, they're scamming us. It's horrible. It's the Democrats' fault. And it really is. It really is. In 2025, this year, it's January, we found out that many of the fire hydrants were empty. They were empty. LA was ill prepared for this. And guess what happened? When Gavin Newsom was asked why there's no water, and why Why has this, gotten out of control and stuff? He passed the buck. He said, you know what? It's the locals' fault. And Mayor Karen Bass, the mayor of LA, instead of being with her people, trying to figure out what to do, working, she's in Africa. In Africa. While her people are dying. While her people are being left homeless. While her people are getting sick. I'm worried about the women who are pregnant, who have respiratory diseases, who, like, people who are losing their homes, and she's in Africa. She chartered a plane over there. It's insane. It really is insane. And on top of that, what we also have, let me see. It says, radical environmental groups have also prohibited the clearing of brush in forested areas. They're like, we can't have that because it's bad for the environment. Again, we're worshiping the environment instead of the creator. And by not clearing the brush, it's helped the fires spread super quickly. And because they're not, another thing that's going on is in LA is that they're not clearing out the homeless encampments. And, I have so much sympathy for people who are homeless. And part of the reason is because I had a brother who was homeless for a few years. And so it really does break my heart. And I really try to be, it's hard. But like Ali Beth Stuckey says, there's such a thing as toxic empathy. And that's when in us trying to be like, empathize with the other side, what we're doing is we're enabling certain behaviors that are toxic and that are bad. So in this case, because of the encampments, a lot of unregulated fires are frequently started. Like in homeless encampments, you always hear of fires. In fact, one of my brother told me a story about when he was homeless. There was a fire that started in one of their encampments and killed someone. That person was sleeping, and it killed him. And it's because, they're trying to heat up their coffee. Like my brother had a little stove where he would heat up boiled water and stuff. So like accidents happen. And sometimes, some of the fires are started purposely. But like, this is the result of that. So who is to blame for all this? Us. And I know that's not going to be a very popular response, especially for the people saying, but we didn't vote for Newsom. We didn't vote for this. For a long time, we have been so apathetic towards what's going on. A lot of people are waking up now. I know a lot of people who are like, 10 years ago, I wasn't political. Well, if you would have been political 10 years ago, maybe we wouldn't be in the mess we are right now. I know so many people who are like, I wasn't political 10 years ago. I used to not vote, or just, I didn't get involved in any of that. Because as Christians, we should be focused on bringing the gospel to people and not on politics. And when we do that, when we don't care, we should be privileged to have the right to vote. We should be privileged to be involved in politics. And actually, bring our Christian values into it. And say, you know what, I'm a Christian, so therefore I'm going to vote like a Christian. But a lot of people didn't do that. And instead they weren't political. And now we have wicked rulers that we'd voted for. And it makes me very sad. I have family in LA. I have church. My church is in LA. And so I have people at my church who have family members or friends whose houses have burned down. I have friends who had to evacuate, personal friends that I've known for a really long time. And it all makes me really sad. And for a bit, I was just like, I don't know what to do. Like, do I pray for God's mercy? Or should I just be thank you, God, for bringing judgment? Or like, the good thing is we have a merciful God. And so I'm going to leave you guys with this Bible verse, which I think will help us feel better, you know? And yes, I think I will be praying for God's mercy and for God to help us and stuff like that. Obviously, I'm praying for the people who are affected. Yeah, but part of me was just like, we love child sacrifice way too much. We love child mutilation way too much. We worship the environment in California over God. And we know that based on the policies, right? We protect the environment. We kill image bearers of God inside the womb. We destroy the image of God outside of the womb by telling little kids that they were born in the wrong body. Like God made a mistake. And so when everything started and it started getting out of control, it was just like, this is God's. But it's actually us. We voted for these wicked rulers. We have wicked rulers because of us. With that being said, God is merciful. God is good. And if you put your trust in him, you know, he's going to get us out of this. So the psalm that's been on my mind is Psalm 46, which states the following. It said, God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. A very present help in trouble. So in these times of trouble, let us turn to God so that he may have mercy upon us. Anyways, guys, that's it. That's all I have for you guys today. If you like this, found this useful, share it with a friend, share it with a family member, give it a like. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time.